All right, let's dive into one of the most important, most talked about events in the entire world of digital assets, the Bitcoin halving. You see, this is a pre-programmed adjustment that's been baked into Bitcoin's code from day one. And believe me, it has huge implications for its future. So picture this. Just a little while ago, in April of 2024, something major happened. And no, this wasn't some surprise market event or a new regulation. This was something that was destined to happen, hard-coded right into Bitcoin's DNA, just ticking away like a digital clock. Yep, we're talking about the Bitcoin halving. You've probably heard the term thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean? What does it do to the network, to the miners, and to the market? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down right now. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. What in the world just happened during this latest halving event? When you boil it all down, the halving is basically a scheduled pay cut for Bitcoin miners. These are the folks with powerful computers that process all the transactions and keep the network secure. And for all that hard work, they get rewarded with new Bitcoin. The halving, well, it cuts that reward right in half. Now, what's so fascinating here is that this is all perfectly predictable. It's not random at all. It happens like clockwork, about every 4 years, or to be super precise, every 210,000 blocks that get added to the blockchain. And each time it kicks in, that reward for creating new Bitcoin gets slashed by exactly 50%. So that brings us to the really big question. Why? Why on earth would you build a system that automatically cuts its own production rate? The answer to that is the absolute key to understanding how Bitcoin works. Here's the heart of it. The halving is essentially an economic brake pedal. It's built to control the flow of new Bitcoin coming into the world, which makes it a genuinely scarce digital thing. Unlike regular currencies that governments can print more of whenever they want, Bitcoin has this fixed, predictable, and ever-slowing supply. And this is a brilliant way to think about it. It's a lot like gold mining, right? Just like it gets harder and more expensive to dig gold out of the ground over time, the halving makes it programmatically harder to generate new Bitcoin. It's a genius way to mimic the natural scarcity of something like gold, but in a totally digital and predictable way. And hey, this isn't the first time this has happened, not by a long shot. If we look back at the previous halvings, we can start to see a really clear pattern emerge, and it helps us understand why this is such a big deal. Just look at this journey. Back in 2012, the reward was cut from 50 Bitcoin down to 25, and the price was $12. Then jumped to 2016, the price was around $650. By the 2020 halving, we're looking at almost $9,000. And now, in 2024, that reward just dropped again, down to 3.125 Bitcoin. Each of these events has pretty much kicked off a whole new era for Bitcoin. So, what does this all mean for the world today? Well, the impact really hits two groups the hardest: the miners keeping the network running, and of course, the markets. For miners, the change is instant and it's brutal. Their main source of income gets chopped in half overnight. This really squeezes their profits, and sometimes the less efficient miners have to shut down their machines. That can cause some wobbles in the network's overall computing power, the hash rate, which is tied to its security. It also means that going forward, miners have to rely more and more on the transaction fees we all pay instead of that block reward. But for the market, wow. The context for this halving is completely different from all the others. We are now seeing huge institutions getting involved. The biggest sign of this? The approval of those spot Bitcoin ETFs back in January 2024. This is a game changer, plugging Bitcoin directly into traditional financial markets like never before. It's a whole new ballgame. To really wrap our heads around how far Bitcoin has come, let's end with a story that captures its journey perfectly. It really takes us from this tiny, niche experiment to the global force it is today. It all started with this one simple post on an internet forum way back in 2010. A programmer, Laszlo Henyets, threw out an offer. He said he wanted to trade some of the Bitcoin he had mined for something real. And what did he want? 2 large pizzas. And the price he offered is it's become the stuff of legend. 10,000 Bitcoin. A few days later, on May 22nd, a day we now call Bitcoin Pizza Day, it happened. It was the very first time anyone used Bitcoin to buy a real physical thing. And the value of those 10,000 coins at that exact moment? About $41. So think about that. From 10,000 coins for a couple of pizzas to a global asset that's now sitting in the portfolios of massive institutions, Bitcoin's journey has been absolutely incredible. And the halving is the engine that drives that transformation. It's this built-in clock that keeps making it scarcer. So far, it's marked the beginning of every new chapter in Bitcoin's story. The only question is, what will this latest halving unlock next?